It's 3 a.m. and your phone lights up. Not a normal message, a photo that shouldn't exist followed by a threat. Pay up or everyone you know sees it. Your heart rate spikes, your hands go cold, your mind goes blank. That reaction is exactly what the person on the other end is counting on. Because sextortion, whether the image is real or AI generated, doesn't run on the blackmailer's actual power. It runs on borrowing your fear and turning it into leverage. Understanding that mechanism is the first step to taking the leverage back. Think of power in this situation like a loan. The person threatening you has nothing but an image and a message. What gives that message weight is your response: panic, instant compliance, silence out of shame. Every time you react the way they expect, you're paying interest on that loan. And here's something most people don't realize. Most operators running this kind of scheme aren't targeting one person specifically. They're running the same script against dozens, sometimes hundreds, of people at once on a kind of assembly line, moving fastest on whoever reacts the hardest and slowest, or stopping entirely on whoever doesn't. That doesn't make what's happening to you any less real, but it reframes it. This isn't a personal standoff between you and one calculating enemy. It's a process, often semi-automated, and every process has weak points if you don't feed it what it needs to keep running. The first weak point is the expected reaction. There's a reason these messages almost always come with urgency built in. A countdown, a threat to send within the hour, a demand for an immediate reply. Urgency is not incidental, it's the entire engine. It's designed to trigger a stress response before your rational thinking has time to catch up, the same freeze or comply reflex that shows up in other high-pressure scams. When someone doesn't follow that script, doesn't beg, doesn't argue, doesn't rush to pay, the process stalls, because the person on the other end has no contingency for a target who takes their time. It's not that calm has some magical protective quality. It's that unpredictability removes their ability to plan the next message, and uncertainty cuts against a model built entirely on speed. They need a fast yes. A slow, uncertain non-reaction breaks the machine they're running. The second weak point is shame itself, and this is the part most people underestimate. Shame only has power when you treat it as a confession, as if the existence of the image is proof of something you did wrong. But being secretly recorded, having private images leaked, or having AI used to fabricate something that never actually happened is not something you did. It's something that was done to you, often by someone who spent time building trust specifically so they could exploit it later. Public figures who survive scandals like this usually aren't spotless. They survive because they refuse to hand the story more fuel by disappearing into humiliation or over-explaining themselves to everyone who might have seen it. The moment a person stops treating exposure as a permanent verdict on their character, the blackmailer loses their real weapon, which was never actually the image. It was the target's belief that the image defines them in the eyes of everyone who matters. The third weak point is the loop itself. Blackmail thrives on back and forth, a threat, a reaction, a smaller demand met, then a bigger one right behind it. This is where a lot of people get trapped without realizing it. They pay once, hoping it ends the situation, and instead it confirms to the other side that this target is willing to pay, which almost always leads to a second demand, then a third. It works the same way a sunk cost trap works in other contexts. Once you've already given something, the instinct is to keep protecting that investment rather than cut losses early. The way out isn't a clever comeback line or a threat of your own. It's exiting the loop entirely, refusing to let a single new demand become the start of an ongoing negotiation. That means not explaining yourself, not trying to reason with someone who was never going to stop after one payment anyway, and treating every message after the first refusal as something to record, not respond to. That's really the core of what actually works here. switching from an emotional exchange to a procedural one. Save every message exactly as it appears, including usernames, phone numbers, or account handles. Screenshot the images or videos being used as leverage. Even though it feels like the last thing you want to look at again, this becomes the evidence that turns the situation from your word against theirs into a documented case. Cut off direct contact once you've captured what you need. Continued conversation, even angry conversation, still gives them the reaction they're fishing for. Then report through the actual channels built for this: the platform where the contact happened, local cybercrime units, and, for image-based cases specifically, services designed to help get non-consensual images taken down at scale. That shift, from reacting in real time to quietly building a record, is what turns someone from a person being cornered into someone building a case against their own extortion. It's less dramatic than a sharp comeback line, but it's the version that actually holds up when it matters. None of this requires you to feel fearless in the moment. Fear is a completely normal response to a genuinely threatening situation, and pretending otherwise isn't the goal. What matters is what happens in the 5 minutes right after the fear hits. Whether it gets to dictate an instant, panicked reaction, or whether there's enough space to follow a process instead of the script someone else wrote for you before they ever hit send. If there's one thing worth carrying out of this video, it's this: a photo, real or fabricated, is not a verdict on who you are, and the person sending threats over it is not operating from strength. They're operating from a script that only works if you play your assigned part in it. Refuse the part, and the entire script collapses under its own weight. Because a threat with no reaction behind it isn't leverage anymore, it's just noise. If you've ever been in a situation like this, or known someone who has, share what happened in the comments. It helps other people recognize the same pattern faster than they would on their own. And if breaking down manipulation tactics like this is useful to you, subscribe for more.